episode of the PEBAheads. We got a full crew here, and we'll dive right in. We got winter meetings coming up this weekend, but we're going to focus on the Hall of Fame. And I'm not calling it the Legends or whatever we were talking about on Slack today. It's the Hall of Fame. So we're going to dive back right in to this. We've got lots of topics. We're going to try to hit them all. We're also going to make sure Lenny doesn't get off the hook and talk about, his things outside of OOTP that we might not know about him. So there, I've said it. It's gonna happen. We're not gonna forget about it.
I was gonna say something, I forgot what it is. Go ahead. Let's start.
All right. With that, let's jump in with the first topic. Scott, you brought up a good point with the Hall of Fame. There appears to be a certain group of guys that look like they should be surefire first ballot Hall of Fame guys. So let's dive in with some of the guys you identified as ones that stand out for that.
Well, to roll back just a little bit, we've had 33 seasons in PEBA, and there are 18 current Hall of Famers. Of those 18, 11 of them are pitchers and 7 of them are hitters. They come from 12 different teams as identified on their Hall of Fame page. So that means that 20 teams in the league have 0 players identified as Hall of Famers. So questions that I have is there any one stat that anybody would consider to be like primary when you're looking at the Hall of Fame ballot? Do you look at WAR? Do you look at ERA, Ks, wins for pitchers, maybe total bases? So I was looking at some of the leaderboards. Every time I look at my Hall of Fame ballot, I like to go to the leaderboard page and kind of peruse that before I make my choices. And one of the things that stood out to me, like I start with some biases, right? So I have a bias when it comes to, wins above replacement, WAR. But I know that I've seen some people in the league talk about how it can be skewed a little bit in our league. So another thing, like if you come to hitters, total bases are an interesting stat. Obviously, home runs can be something that get a lot of flair and flash when it comes to voting. Wins for pitchers, how about win percentage, is another one. Strikeouts is another one, and earned run average. So I've got some of the leaderboards here on these things. So just since the pitchers outnumber the hitters, I want to start with the pitching side. And it looks like when it comes to our current Hall of Fame class, WAR leads the day. So if you look at the leaderboards when it comes to pitching, we have 11 pitchers in the Hall of Fame. The number 1 WAR leader is in the Hall of Fame. The number 8 is, the number 12, the number 15, the number 21, the number 25, 28, 29, 30, 35, and 39. So the lowest ranked person on the career WAR list for pitchers is 39th. But on wins, I'm sorry, wins or WAR is the highest number is number 17. On wins, it's 33. On win percentage, it's 39. On strikeouts, it's really low. And on earned run average, it's really low. So the number 1 thing is the number of wins that they have. The number 2 is the WAR rating. If you look at the hitting side, WAR wins the day. Home runs, like Steve McDonald is in the Hall of Fame, and he has 57 total home runs. So clearly there's not a home run bias when it comes to the Hall of Fame, because that guy, I don't know, he would rank like number 800 on the list. However, it's not like it's completely outside of the realm, because the number 1 and 2 home run hitters are in it. And that brings us to the current class. The number 3, 5, 8, 10, and 11 in home runs are on the current Hall of Fame class. So having said all that, I'll throw it back to you guys. Is there any one stat, or is there a combination of stats that you guys like to focus on when you make your Hall of Fame ballot?
Before we start, Can I just say that I have a mad crush on you now after that rant? Okay, go ahead.
All right.
This is what happens when you don't let Lenny go first. That's what it is.
Yeah.
No, go ahead. I just sat there and I started to see heart bubbles. Dreamweaver started playing.
You can add those in editing. It's okay.
No, we're good. I will continue. We already have a copyright problem of Hall of Fame, so we need we need that sponsorship.
I'm happy to jump in here.
Yeah, go ahead, Mike. You can say
so
things.
we have clearly a lot of pitchers. I think the early iterations of the league, there was a lot of pitcher heavy favorites. I mean, you get guys that literally kind of like shape the league, whether it's going to be Conan McCullough, it's going to be Manuel Corona, the mayor. Obviously, you got the big one, Marcus Hancock. You got some of these huge names that historically, they've led all of the categories for the longest time. They're going to be voted in right away. I'm surprised at how few hitters we've gotten in. And right now, I'll say, at least in the current ballot, there are more position players and pitchers. So that's a good sign. So hopefully we'll get more of those guys in. I'm personally more for a larger haul, just because I want to get it going. I know there's been previous discussions about trying to add in some guys that even have fallen off the ballots that were from some of the initial ballots that were some of the kind of the original boom players as well. But to your point, I do probably start, and I know this is like taboo for a lot of people, but I start with the WAR. I'll start there. I'll look at kind of what their career WAR is, how they've compared to other players throughout the seasons, wins for, if we're talking pitchers, wins, ERA, walk rates, strikeout rates. That's obviously a big one as well. But I think a lot of the names that are in there right now are very deserving. I don't think I have a problem with any of them. And I would say probably, at least in my ballot, before we kind of get into some deep diving some of the other topics, mine is probably still kind of pitcher heavy right now as well. I think historically we've been more of despite the fact that we've had a lot of good hitters, it seems like we've been more of a pitcher league since kind of the start of PEBA. And I could be wrong, but right now that's where the hall is kind of laying. It's predominantly pitchers. So at least that's my initial thoughts before we start deep diving into stuff.
Well, that does line up with, I think, with league voting. Again, I think I muddled it a little bit in my intro there, but of the leaderboards, the lowest ranked Hall of Famer is ranked 17th best WAR. So there's not a lot. There's 11. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 6 people in the top 17 pitcher wise who are not in the Hall of Fame. And of those, 2 of them are still active, so they can't be. So, it is a question as to why some of these guys have been left out. And I'll admit, the current draft class, I think, does it have Nelson Anderson on it?
It does
so
not.
The people who are in the top 17 who are not in the Hall of Fame right now are, we talked about this pronunciation. Is it Jorge? Jorge Castillo. Castillo, he's still active. Jorge. So Fred Benjamin, he's on the current draft class. Fred Benjamin is 10th in total WAR with 66.78. Carlos Rivera is 11th. Nelson Anderson is 14th. Lupe Van Dam, who's currently active with Florida, is 15th. It'd be interesting to see where he ends up. He's going to rocket up that list. And then Clayton Lewis is 16th. So you've got some guys who are in that top. And if you want to round out to the top 20, and I will note for you, Kenny Ashley is 21 in total WAR. But also, if you look at wins, Ken Ashley, I think, is 3 in wins. Yeah, Ken Ashley has 232 wins. That puts him behind Marcus Hancock and Francisco Robles in total wins. So I do like to look at a bunch. I don't want to stick I'm with you, Mike. I want a cheater thing. And if I'm looking for a quick reference to kind of get a radar for I'll look at WAR, but then I'll start to look at other things.
Yeah.
To weigh it in.
I think it's a good, I mean, as much as we don't, I would probably, I don't know what the ratio is. Let's just say half the league doesn't like war, half the league likes war. I think it's a good starting point. But then, and I forget who's taken over actually publishing the ballot that kind of goes out. But just going through, like, I'm big on accomplishments as well. You know, I'm looking at their awards and what they've accomplished, whether it's just league records or team records. All this stuff is interesting to me. I like looking through it. So I take those into account as well. But I typically start with war because the expectation is, you know, they've reached a certain level. Um, there's probably going to be that caveat for probably like relief pitchers where they might not be as high, just because that's just not a position that tends to get a large amount of wins above replacement. But I definitely, for hitters and starting pitchers, I start with the war, and then I start to kind of to go from there, from their kind of individual accomplishments and everything. And I don't think I've swayed too far once we get to kind of talking about who we voted for. I don't think I've voted for anyone who's like egregious and like doesn't belong at all, except for maybe like one player where he's no longer on the ballot, but I historically had some favoritism for maybe a New Jersey player here and there. But other than that, I mean, it's all, I think it's, to me, it's pretty basic. A lot of these guys should more or less be in there, but clearly half the league probably doesn't agree. And that's why we have such a small 18-person Hall of Fame right now.
How about you, Sean?
Well, I think the first thing that, so when I first joined, it was like, okay, so how am I going to try to understand what happened before I was here type of thing? And it definitely looks like it was predominantly a pitching league. So the pitching war is inflated a bit when you compare to the offensive side. So being able to go into stats lab and like look at historical numbers, it has helped. And also, like you said, Michael, the PDF that's sent with compiling all of the rankings of these players where they rank not only within their organization, but historically where they rank across the board, that's been a huge help for me to try to kind of weed through some of this. And the big thing I've noticed is like, I think people look at some of these numbers based through the Major League Baseball lens of what a Hall of Famer is and not what a Hall of Famer is in context to this league. And Lenny's raising his hand.
You go ahead, keep going, and I'll just.
But like one thing I noticed, like the career home run leader is Morimoto from Florida, and it looks like he's got 654 career home runs. Now in Major League Baseball, if you get like 500 home runs, you're pretty much a guaranteed lock to being into the Hall of Fame. But there's way more guys in Major League Baseball that hit 500 home runs than what we've historically seen in this league. There's only 3 players that have hit over 500 home runs in this league. So,
and Pat Barry's not in yet.
And he's not in yet.
Yeah.
So to me, it's like, it's crazy because Morimoto, from a WAR perspective, really isn't that great of a WAR player. He's 47.1 for WAR, but he leads league in home runs per career. So it's like,
it's defense, right? I mean, the defense dragged his WAR down.
Yeah, I'm assuming he was like defense or DH or, you know, like.
Yeah, I'm guessing it was defense that dragged his WAR down, and you can make an argument that is an issue, but that's why you don't say I'm just voting for WAR. That's why you got to go to the other stats.
Yeah.
It tells me that Morimoto doesn't belong in the Hall of Fame. I say you're crazy. You say his WAR is not high enough. He's the number one. Again, not just runs. He's number 4 in total bases. So I actually like, you know, and I recognize I'm dominating the conversation again. So I'll stop after this, but I like total bases, right? Because it's not just home runs, right? You can be a singles hitter who hits the shit out of the ball and get some doubles and triples, and you can move your way up the total bases list, but you're not going to be so high on the home run list. You know, as an example, Steve McDonald is, I don't know, like number
10 million on the home run list, but he's respectably 57 on the total bases list. I get it, 57 is not in the top 10, but I think that it shows that the dude could hit, right? It's not just about how many home runs he hits.
Well, like there's one guy that's still active that I think, war wise, he's still got a ways to go, but he could possibly go down as one of the greatest players in PEBA history, and that's Bartolo Mora. And when you look at his numbers, he's got 488 home runs. He's got 739 stolen bases. No one above him has higher than 57 stolen bases. So it's like the dude's got 488 home runs. You start looking at total bases from that standpoint.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's hitting
11,
the ball with power and then also stealing bases. Like
he's 11 on the total bases list right now with 4,217. And he's only going to go up from there.
Yeah.
Yep. So the other thing I wanted to highlight before we transition to the next area is I think in this league we don't talk about enough of the greatest players at their position. We look at overall WAR based on just solid WAR or solid who's the best player. But what I've noticed is there's a lot of offensive players that that would have been Hall of Famers if we were going by like another baseball criteria. But like I always try to think and I think Michael J brought this up on one of our earlier podcasts, but just like players that made an impact in their generation that you can't tell the story of PEBA without them in it. Like it's hard how do you like put a numerical value with that? But at the same token, it's like if you're the highest rated WAR player as a shortstop, probably should get in. Like if no one's higher than you, like how do we?
I think there's one guy in the Hall of Fame that I clearly look at in that category, and it's German Hernandez. He's a catcher, and he's 36th on WAR. He's 94 on total bases. He's 43 in home runs. I mean, he ranks respectably on all of these lists offensively, but he's not a standout on any of these lists, except for the fact that no other catcher is anywhere near him.
Yeah.
The one thing that I have noticed, like, who's the reliever? Who's the closer? Like, who's the elite? Who's been the most elite non-starting pitcher, pitching wise, that should be in the Hall of Fame? Because somebody should be there. You can't tell me that we've had zero elite.
That is definitely weird that we don't have any. I mean, there's tons of them on the list this year, but we have nothing but starting pitchers or position players. And just shout out to Frank because I know like last year he posted a bunch of like early shortstop analysis and second base analysis for players to kind of exactly do what you're asking. I think Sean and Scott that deeper dive analysis by position. Hopefully, it's CP time, so maybe he'll do a couple more at different positions. But I know that he's got a couple threads in the Hall of Fame discussion where essentially he's deep dived through Stats Lab the best players at certain positions and why it makes sense probably for them to eventually get into the Hall of Fame. How quickly they will or not, I don't know, because obviously it's a larger group perspective and not just one person. But like for instance, there's three shortstops on the list right now, but he does a good breakdown individually by position. And hopefully Frank will do some more. This is kind of a little egging on of do some more posts, Frank. We like them. We like seeing them. They're good breakdowns though, but I agree with you. There's tons of relief pitchers, and I apologize just for the fact that Lenny has not gotten a chance to speak. And I'm sitting here maximizing time. So
that words per square inch just build up with me. So every minute I'm quiet now, you're just gonna have to deal with later. I'm very
at the very end. You've got the last like 20 something 30 minutes.
I have
whatever. It's
nothing
all you.
to add to this. This is amazing. Keep going.
But but to your point, there's a lot of good relief pitchers that do deserve. I mean, we got our saves leader, who's not surprisingly in the Hall of Fame, which is just absurd because at this point you'd figure that we would have Ricardo Perez in there. He's sitting down there from Havana. Um, I forget if he's new. Actually, that's where I have to double check because I forget if he's a new one. Yeah, so here I am, quoting Ricardo Perez is not in the Hall of Fame, and he's actually new to this ballot. So apologies there. But regardless, there's other good relievers on that list, whether it's Gomez or Alfredo Aranda. I think Aranda has been on there for a bit of a spell, but why we don't like these save leaders, these guys that are, on the back end of the rotation, yet all we do is complain how we don't have good bullpens. Like Aranda's been out for a spell already from 2036 is when he retired. So that's at least 5 seasons now or 4 seasons now that he's been on more or less a Hall of Fame ballot since we don't wait the 5 years or customary 5 years. So yeah, I think some of these other guys are deserving. I'm interested once we get to kind of like going through each individual person and hearing everyone's thoughts, but
Well, before
go
we do
first.
that, the other thing too is like, I think there's a lot, there's a group of people that believe that some positions are less valuable than others. And the bottom line is there's 9 positions on the field. Like, and then you also have the people that will say that a DH only player is somehow less valuable than others. And it's like, I'm sorry, but both sides of our league have a DH player. So if they dominated their position, like how do we, it's hard for me to discount that. And like to your point, Michael, like with the relief pitcher, well, yeah, they're not a starting pitcher, but if they dominated and they were the best of the best, then that's who I want to put in.
Right, but Sean, I think they're less valuable, in a controversial way to say that if you've got, say, 10 first basemen and corner outfielders in the Hall of Fame and 2 shortstops or middle infielders, that's because we base this on the production, and you just tend to get more production out of those types of players, right?
Yep.
Now,
No, I agree.
if you're an elite shortstop and elite second baseman, sure, I agree. But you can be, there's far more elite position players in those dominant power positions than there are at catcher and shortstop and second base, So I'm never surprised to see more of those people in. But so when I saw German Hernandez, I'm like, yeah, right. But if you look at these guys who are in the Hall of Fame, like it's a good point. Who's our elite shortstop? I mean, there should be somebody in there, right? I mean, the one that sticks out the most is clearly relievers / closers. There should be one. I mean, at the point where you've got 18 Hall of Famers and 33 seasons in the books, there should be some reliever in there or a closer, right? I agree with that. And I think that I'm guilty of it. I've overlooked these people because I've looked at, and it's another question I have for you guys, like longevity. How much value do you put on that? Total, contribution to the game over dominance over a short period of time, right? There's some of these players. I mean, just to bring up bring this personally home, Steve Boyer, is tied for the most home runs in a season, and he dominated for, I don't know, about a season and a half. But I look at him and I'm like, like I might vote for him out of a homer, situation once he comes up, but his longevity wasn't there if I'm taking the fact that he was my guy out of it, I'm going, yeah, he was the most dominant player in the league for one season, but it's not enough for me to vote for him for Hall of Fame. I still might as a homer thing, but it wasn't enough. I'm not going to be upset that he doesn't get in. I'd be like, yeah, no, if he gets 1 vote, I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. If he gets 4 votes, yeah, that's cool too. He should not get 40 votes, right? Or 32 votes. He shouldn't get him, right?
So this is where, so for me, a guy like Boyer is like a guy like, as a Cardinal fan, a guy like David Freese, where it's like he had a huge moment. He dominated during a playoff series, won you a World Series, but at the same token, he's a Cardinal Hall of Famer and not a
Yeah.
major
So-
league.
You have the Cal Ripken argument.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, no.
like because he played forever, and that's why he's in the Hall. He maybe he had 1 good offensive year.
Yeah, no, he was slightly above average. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, he was slightly above
No,
average.
above average, but he played forever without getting hurt. And does he deserve to be in the Hall of Fame?
That's amazing in
Absolutely.
itself, though.
Absolutely.
Maybe elite defense, right? Maybe elite
Yeah,
defense.
I mean, for a while,
But-
and he
but-
wasn't awful.
No,
But when you're a starter and you don't miss a game for how many freaking years, that's Hall of Fame worthy. So that's
I agree. So how much is the longevity? So because I put a big amount of weight on longevity, and I think I'm biased towards longevity.
Mhm.
How many of you guys would vote for someone who was in the league for 22 seasons, but he was mediocre, right? For the majority, but he was dominant for 3 or 4. Now let's take Boyer out of it. A guy who was dominant for 4 or 5 seasons, but then he was just pedestrian, or someone who was dominant for a short period of time but got injured, like say Bo Jackson. I mean, you can't argue that in MLB, Bo Jackson was
That's Hall of Fame talent, but not a Hall of Fame career.
yeah, but injuries cut him short. So
Yeah.
what's the cutoff? Do you need 7 seasons you need 10, you need 15? What's how do you balance longevity versus the guy was super dominant for a short period of time?
I know, like,
Well-
historically, Sandy Koufax is one that pops up a lot where he was so dominant for a short period of time that they put him in the Hall of Fame. But it's just, he was so far above and far and beyond like his peers. It's kind of hard to.
Or just like
There was-
sports, sadly, like Barry Sanders,
Yeah.
but he had enough of a career before then.
Yeah.
It's hard to think of like people that just pop off, and have their moment versus having a career. And I think Hall of Famers need to have a career, I think.
I mean, I
being
generally
there for a
agree.
while.
It's-
You got to be good over an extended period of time.
The career is important, but it also, like, when did they go nuts? What is the context of when they had their big years? Is it with some of these other talents that might have, lasted longer? Did they dominate in a time where some of these other guys that maybe dominated longer, did they dominate them at that period of time? I don't think they should be dismissed right away just because they might have had a shorter career or shorter, like top of their bell curve or whatever for when they performed.
Well, from like a Cubs perspective in real life, one guy that I thought that kind of got gypped was Ron Santo
Mhm.
because he had 2 or 3 guys that were putting up better stats than he did. So he always played second fiddle to them. But then when you look at his numbers holistically over his career and then the announcing side of it, it's like the guy deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. And then they wait till he passes away to put him in. It's just like, we're playing a video game, but at the same token, it's like, if the guy's got the stuff to put him in. Like,
Yeah, he's not Pete Rose.
yeah.
Well, exactly. And
My argument for Pete Rose, all these guys tell me Pete Rose belongs in the Hall of Fame. I say, yes, he does. I would walk up to Pete Rose right now and say, if I was in charge of the Hall of Fame, say, you're getting in.
Yeah.
Not till you die.
there
That
you
shit,
go.
that,
Boom.
that shit we gotta wait on you.
Boom.
You deserve it. You're gonna get in.
Oh, you're
But
gonna
we
wait.
don't think we're gonna reward you for your gambling. And I question the whole, gambling on his own team. We're not gonna put you in for gambling, although Major League Baseball football has got a serious gambling problem now, so that might change things for Pete Rose.
Yeah.
But back before they were super tied to gambling, the sports industry, I just thought it was a bridge too far.
I
Question.
think they keep switching sports, but I think Mike had a really good point. When they dominated, like when you think about Dominique Wilkins behind Michael Jordan, if the Michael Jordan was never born, Dominique Wilkins could have been the best player ever. You know, it's that kind of thing. It's like, when did they dominate? What did they do? And when we're talking video game, I mean, you don't get to talk to these guys. So,
Yeah.
you know, so it's tricky. It's tricky, but
Strange
it's
little
a fun conversation though.
strange little tangent off of that note. Does the game document when people die? Have we had any Hall of Fame, like, have we gotten to a point where we've seen people, because when the league started 2007, it's 2040, that is a long time ago
Yeah.
in game wise, 30 plus years. So guys would have to died early. Does the game document that the guy's dead
I don't.
that you're voting into? I'm just
Oh,
weird
no,
little
I
oddity
don't.
question. I don't know.
I think there are deceased people. Yeah, because I don't think you've got people that are 100 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting, and not to do some foreshadowing, you know, I can't wait to see if, you know, if the kidney transplant works.
We'll get to that.
I'd sure like to know if that
That's
fucking
that's
died.
an article
I would like to
worthy.
know if he fucking dies.
It didn't work. Damn it.
Go ahead, though. What were we talking about?
Well, let's get
Moving
into
on.
Joe Riley getting inducted.
who
Yeah, thanks,
who
Sean.
our ballots
As my screen is
and
out,
get
that's
into
right out of the way.
who we picked for the Hall of Fame. I know it'll be formally announced during the winter meetings, but we can go into who our picks were. Scott, do you want to go with?
I can't. I was looking to see if anybody's dead.
Okay.
I'll go first because I can only remember 3.
All right, go with your 3, Lenny.
Well, I went with the hitters, man. So I went with Pat Barry for sure. I voted for a lot more than this, but these are the ones I remember. Pat Barry, and I voted for Mr. Munoz and Brad, old man Brad. So those are the 3 I know I voted for, and I believe I voted for our closer, Ricardo. Is it Ricardo?
Fred, no.
Perez?
Correct, that's what I meant.
Okay,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. So based primarily on their guys I remember since I was in the league. So, and I, you know, to expose myself completely, I don't like you said, when I joined, how do you try to judge a whole bunch of what was in the past other than hitting more, you know? But yeah, Pat very obviously is going to get in, I would imagine. And I'd like to see more hitters. That was a big thing for me. So I think I Sedania too. I went a lot of hitters. So there you go. I'm not going to give you in-depth analysis.
What is your strategy from year to year?
Oh, so when I wasn't talking. For me, I kind of go off the that's why I raised my hand. I go off of Major League Baseball. Primarily because I'll click WAR because usually it is a good gauge of stuff, but like you got 3,000 hits, you should get it. You got a whole bunch of home runs, you should get it. Total bases, Moneyball, Scott and I like those a bunch. So that kind of thing. Pitchers, 20 win season, 300 to whatever Marcus has got. You know, if you're up there on the leaderboards and those things, and I think maybe when we're talking about the best at the position, I do kind of look. I've always wondered why we didn't have relievers, and I had never had a platform other than my deaf dog to hear it. So a shortstop, things like that, because they're really unique, in our league in particular. So it's just interesting to kind of see that. So but like we were talking about the Cal Ripken thing, I would love to, as I start to know the players more, as like people are disappearing and showing up on these lists. Bothwell, for example, I had and got so mad and got so excited and lucky when he freaking took his option to go somewhere else. Those are things that you just start to know as you start to know the players better. So that's my strategy. Look up some stats and see if they were good, and then do this.
do you try to vote for the 10 or do you?
No, I think I voted for 8 this time.
Oh, come on. You could have
I
fit
mean,
in
I voted for
two more
13.
guys that
I
are
voted for 13.
worthy.
I think I actually voted for 10 this time. I haven't always done that though.
So what are the thoughts on that? Do you think we should be voting for 10? Because I have not, but I'm open to it. Like voting for the 10 best.
I feel like everyone's gonna have a different opinion. I mean,
I wish we could rank them. Like if there was like ranked choice voting, that would be
Mhm.
interesting, right? I would be more comfortable with 10. I would vote for 10 every time if I knew it would be ranked choice voting, so that there was some kind of rating to it.
Yeah. That's good.
I know that like especially this year, I thought that there were more than 10 that could have been voted
Yeah.
on. And I think that's probably what the rank choice thing
Yeah.
possibly could like circumvent some of that, because I think people, even like in the real life voting for Hall of Fame, there are people they'll vote for a guy just to keep him on the ballot.
I keep them on the ballot.
And it's like,
I kind of like that. You know,
I like it. Yeah.
If there's a guy that you think is on the cusp and you're like, hey, he's not going to get in, I don't mind keeping him on the ballot because it's kind of. Does it matter to anybody else here? Like, are you a first ballot Hall of Famer? Does our game even record how many ballots it takes? You know, because we don't
Good
really
question.
talk
I
about.
think I think Mike writes about it. You know,
We don't talk much about it, right?
Yeah, my only thing would be like someone like Pat Barry, I
he's
think
got
should
to
be
go in.
automatically
Yeah,
I would agree.
like,
he's a first ballot, easy.
and if someone, and I think potentially there could be people out there like, oh, he's gonna get enough votes, so I'll throw my vote to somebody else. And it's like,
Right.
if he doesn't get in now because of that, it's
Yeah.
like, come on, like,
Yeah.
Well, and this, like, one of you said, I think, or maybe all of us said, there wasn't really a clunker this year. You know, there's been in the beginning, and obviously because it's the first 4 or 5 times, there's clunkers, you know, you're like, oh gosh. So now you can kind of do the dartboard thing, semi kidding, and you're going to hit someone good. But it's interesting, you know, first ballot versus, I like that idea though. That would be fun. But
I've got another idea. Let's do this every year before I do my ballot because I have regrets now
that's a really good idea.
after our pre-discussion before we started
Oh,
recording.
I wish I could go back and change mine.
And now I'm actually looking at my list going, actually, I think I should have voted for more.
Yeah. I think maybe I did vote for 10 because there wasn't any clunkers. I know I haven't voted for all 10 in the past.
so I know I mentioned Barry, but there's like, you have another like Luis Cedeno from Hartford.
He's got to get it.
Oh yeah.
He's a surefire. He's one of the
Like-
best third basemen ever.
I would say
Yeah.
that Munoz is too.
Yeah.
I'm with you on that one too.
You got, I mean, these guys,
Cedeno-
here comes our, I mean, here
Cedeno-
comes our hitters. Finally, if you're worried about hitting, here they come.
Yeah, Cedeno is 4 on the WAR list. He's 8 on the career home runs, and he's 5th on the total bases list. How can you be in the top 5 on those 3 lists and not make the Hall of Fame? It's just, that's insane.
Yeah.
I think he will. I mean, he was he was one of the early ones. And, you know, we talk about Pat Barry. I'm like, oh, of course. But I think with the exception of a pitcher that I've been pretty high on, I voted for him last time, I'm pretty sure. I think he was on the ballot last time because it rung a bell. But I voted for Kenny Ashley. I mean, that
Yeah,
dude,
that's
I
what I
mean,
was going to make a comment on that. Then you're dropping 235 wins with Kenny Ashley in there.
yeah, how do you third on the all-time wins list and not get into the Hall of Fame? And I get it. You could say wins, you know, it's very team dependent, right? And I'm with you. You know, I think that you know, you need an offense to win a game. You can go 0-0 for 18 innings and you're not going to get a win, right? But you know, it's not like he's low on any of the other lists. I mean, he's respectable on a lot of lists. The only thing you could give him some grief on, I think, is like win percentage and ERA. You know, they're kind of, I wouldn't say
Well, in the
pedestrian.
pitching league, you could actually dissect that a little bit.
Yeah, he's not outstanding on those, but he's 7 on the strikeouts list. He's
Yep.
got 2,628 strikeouts. He's third on the overall wins list, and the WAR, he's 21. Not great, but I just think that being third in wins, and again, we talk about a pitching dominant league, and the dude was able to become the third highest, record the third highest wins of any starting pitcher we have. That's impressive in a pitch with a pitching dominant league with 11 pitchers in the Hall of Fame. I just felt like I'm not going to overlook his win total, and it just
Well, you could
go
if I
ahead.
could just play devil's advocate to that, and only I think you should go. I think you should go. But let me just play the opposite end. In a pitching dominant league, a 3.71 ERA is sky high.
It is. How about being number 7 on the K list?
And there you go. And there you go. So, like,
I mean, he relied on some offense, I would guess. If we look at his total career, it would be unlikely that a guy with a 3.7 ERA didn't have a good, solid offense behind him, right? But the dude could strike some people out. And again, his pitching WAR is not, we've got on the WAR thing, I think we've got Hall of Famers who are below him.
Pitching wise, probably.
Yeah, there's probably a way I can sort this. Let me see.
No, he's the bottom of the WAR list.
Ooh.
Okay.
Yeah, the next highest would be Sutani. He's at 60.93. Ashley's at 59.49. We talk about, I think on the pitching side, if you look at the 11 pitchers who are in the Hall of Fame, I think our league is very WAR biased because they're all in the top 21. Again, they're all in top 17. There's no one ranked below 17 in the Hall of Fame on the all-time career wins above replacement.
It's the quickest click on the filter.
I think that's important, but I think we might be leaning on it too
We
much.
probably are. I mean, I can tell you, I know I leaned on it in the All-Star game because just because of life. I'm like more, and then I go across some more.
I like it. I just think that you shouldn't
Probably
stop.
just pull out.
Yeah, you don't want to stop there. You want to start at WAR, and you want to.
And then I look over, and then I look to the left and start looking like you could have a low WAR, but all of a sudden you're like, you got 33 homers at the All-Star break. You should, whatever.
But anyway, so Kenny Ashley, I voted for Pat Barry, Luis Cedeno, Wilson Muñoz, and Brad Davis. I think they were clear Hall of Famers. You could make an argument to me that Kenny Ashley might not deserve to be in there, but the rest of those hitters, I don't think you can argue. I could go through it, but I'll let you guys, because Sean and Michael haven't told us about their picks yet. I think Barry, Cedeno, Munoz, and Davis are stellar performers and should be in the Hall of Fame. Having said that, I think that next year, if some of these guys are on the ballot again, and I hope they are, I'm probably going to take a harder look at them because I think I'm probably missed some guys who deserve to be in there.
Yeah. How about you, Sean?
I went with Kenny Ashley, Pat Barry, Fred Benjamin, Mike Britt, Luis Cedeno, Andres Hernandez, Juan Hernandez, Chris Long, Ricardo Perez, and Christian Webb. And I hit a lot of the ones you did, Scott, but there were a couple different ones. And I think the big thing for me was just like trying to hit, some of these guys are the best guys at their position and they haven't been in. And it's a matter of, will they get in? I don't know. I don't know if they will. But it's hard for me to like someone like Chris Long. I think as a shortstop, there's not too many other players in the league that have put up what he has as a shortstop. He's not someone that's going to kill you defensively. But yeah, it's definitely when I was kind of shocked to hear that there were people that were only putting like 3 people down. Like,
so Britt's a third baseman. I didn't look at him. like, and he played for Aurora, and I'm just gonna say, I do have a bias. Did I mention this? Aurora has 3 players in, Florida has 3 players in. The Shinseki Evas have 2 players, and Bakersfield have 2 players. Nobody else has multiple. Britt would look list with 435. He's number 18 on the total bases list, which is very respectable with 3,847 total bases. Coincidentally, he's number 44 on the WAR list with 50.04. You know, I think I have to look again, but I think my boy Boyer might be in that range.
Oh,
Is it that Britt wasn't a very good defensive third baseman? Is it like, did he not have any steal ability? Like, what do you guys think deflated his WAR, since he clearly was, with home runs and total bases, was in elite level? He's a little more pedestrian when it comes to WAR.
The
I'm
bat-
guessing it was defense
defensive batting average is pretty
because he's like, when I looked at the PDF and it's like, this guy's the 6th most career home runs in PEBA history. I'm like, how is he not a Hall of Famer? Like, if you're this number 6 all time in home run, it's like,
No, 10. He's 10. I've got the list right here. He's got 435.
oh,
So, but again, the 10th best home run hitter in 33 seasons is a very, very good home run hitter. So
yeah.
if I look at his home run stats, I say Hall of Fame deserving. But I left him off. And again, if I look at his total bases, 18 is respectable. Don Mercer is right above him, right? So it's not like, you know, he's outside of the realm of, you know, respectable hitters. I mean, he's neck and neck with Don Mercer. So he's got a lot of total bases.
And maybe he gets in a future year when someone like Pat Barry's not there, where everyone's
Yeah,
voting.
right. Yeah, I'll admit that'll help. Some of these guys, it helped.
You got to clear them out. You got to clear those stars out.
It'd be nice to see some of these relievers, shortstops, second basemen, you know, who are not elite at their position, or are elite but not hitting well enough to get in onto people's radar. Hopefully they last long enough for us to get a down year where there's not a first baseman and a left fielder who hit the shit out of the ball for their career, so that we can move them up into the upper echelon of the guys that we're looking at. All right. I've talked
What do you
about
have, Michael?
Michael.
I mean, I had a slew of people, and one guy that I don't think has been brought up enough, but I'll get to him in a second. But I had Aranda as a reliever. Still think he's one of the best. I had Ashley, I had Pat Barry, I had Fred Benjamin from Bakersfield, Bothwell, Britt, Cedeno, one of the best third basemen in the league, right up there with Marco Sanchez and the likes of him, before we start getting into the newer players. Andres Hernandez. And then I went to shortstops, which I think both are very deserving. If we go back to like Frank's analysis of shortstops, like I'm surprised we haven't talked enough about Ronald Lowry from Connecticut. Another guy who, I mean, 8-time All-Star, 2-time Royal Raker at shortstop, which is kind of rare outside of the Pablo Ortiz kind of era. Literally one of the best, in my opinion, early shortstops in the league. I always feared, kind of when I was in the league earlier on, we're talking about, you know, longevity and being here. Clearly I've been here way too long, since the 2011 season, but so I'm very familiar with him and facing him in the division. So like him and Chris Long were my last two. I vote for 10. What I do is I will take I screenshot myself and take pictures. So I'll have my ballot from the previous year. I will fill in all the same guys because I still think they're deserving. And then I'll add for anyone who did get in. If I add 2 more or 1 more or 3 more, I will add in those additional individuals. I would rather be more inclusive, because I do think that there's a lot of positions that are not represented enough, where we have some players that might not be as elite as our huge hitters, as you mentioned, you know, that of whether they're DH's first baseman or whatever position they've got the league lead in home runs and all that. but they're the best at their position. And that's, to me, that's what we want to see. We want to see the best at every position. To me, Chris Long, Ronald Lowry, two of the best at shortstop from the early era. Guys that probably should be in there. And then I'd love to see some relievers in there as well. I'd like to see that diversity and see some of those other guys get in. I don't have a problem, like, and that's the thing. Like, I don't have a problem with the guys that we do have in there. All of them are deserving. I know it's very starting pitcher heavy, but I mean, let's be honest. Those are the guys that colored their era when they were there. They're the recognizable names. They deserve to be there. It's not that they don't. It's just it'd be nice to get some of these other guys in there as well, just for some additional color, because they're worthy as well. Like, how do you not have a guy with 8 all-star appearances, 2 Royal Rakers, one of the best shortstops ever? And I keep harping on him, but Lowry's been in the ballot since 2031 when we started. So he's been in the ballot for almost 10 seasons now. And like, how is he not in there? He's one of the best shortstops to do it, at least in PEBA. So that's what I'm interested in. It's like how we've missed some of these guys. He holds all of the Amsterdam, Connecticut records, and shout out to the old Nutmeggers logo and everything. Is I did enjoy those colors and those jerseys and logos back in the day, but I don't understand how we've passed over some of these early guys. Clearly because we probably don't have enough people who remember them, but they made their impacts. They definitely had their careers at that time, maybe not as flashy as now, because not everyone could be a Gordon Knopp or a Van Wandel, and put up those ridiculous 100+ WAR seasons. And back in the day, 50 something WAR was enough, but yeah, that's
what I'm starting to notice about this list is there's a hell of a lot of people from on it that were there when Bakersfield was good.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
That's fun to see.
Let's hear some
Like,
crying.
there's 6 of them, by the way. I'm
So
like, oh.
I've got a quick question. I'm going to leave Michael out of this because his ballot, I think, was very full. Are there any regrets that Sean or Lenny have on after this discussion on people that you might have included after talking here? Because I can tell you right now, Lowry, Benjamin, Britt, and Long are 4 players that I would probably vote for if I had held my ballot until after this discussion. And that doesn't just include what we talked about on camera. It includes the drinking fest that happens before we turn on the microphone. The more color commentary that we like to leave out so that people don't get to see completely behind the curtain.
I have no idea what you're talking about, sir.
Again, I look, I think it's important to do this stuff. I enjoy it for a lot of reasons. And I also enjoy it because I think it makes me better at the league. I would definitely have voted for 4 more people for sure.
Yep. Lowry, I think I'd go back.
Yeah, there was definitely more than 10 that I felt like could have been in, and Lowry is definitely one of them that I would have voted for.
All right. I think that might conclude our Hall of Fame discussion, and I thought it was quite lively and very interesting.
Yeah.
Well, let's take a break to pay the bills, Lenny.
To pay our legal fees for copyright.
Put in a commercial here to see what you come up with this week.
I think what we'll do this time is trying to think of how I could tease it. Maybe we'll go take a look at the Northern Lights for a little bit.
Ooh.
All right, we'll be right back after word from our sponsor.
Well, another night out. I spent a fortune and didn't even score. Okay, I know what to do. For only $2 a minute, I can call
Colorado Phone Companions. I'm Akia. Who is this? Oh, nice to meet you. What things do you like? Sure, I'd like to go into that. Sounds exciting.
Wow, this is dynamite.
That was a very satisfying conversation. I certainly enjoyed it. Pick up the phone and give us a try. I'll bet you'll like it too.
We're back, and I'm looking forward to seeing this commercial. But the 3 of us last time shared something about us that the rest of PEBA didn't know, and we're going to take some time now to turn it over to Lenny to share something about himself to the rest of PEBA.
So yeah, I didn't add mine because it was weird talking about it by myself. Because it's actually could be considered a negative, but I think it's turned out to be a positive.
Come on, I shared that I got anally. No, I'm sorry, I didn't.
Whoa.
That I researched aliens.
Yeah, yeah. So Jesus Christ. How do I come out of that? So I thought about three things to talk about. One was the Cubs and how important they actually were to my family. But then that sounded weird. And then because everybody knows that already, I could have talked about acting until I was blue in the face, but everybody knows that. And then I thought about talking about PEBA, but we all know about that. Like if this were another podcast, I would talk about PEBA. That's the thing that no one knows. I was trying to explain it today. I was to my friend, and I called it Dungeons and Dragons baseball.
Nice.
I like that.
I thought what I would do is drop like a little bit of a truth bomb on everybody, because it actually has a happy ending. When I was 30 years old, I was diagnosed with a really rare disease called myasthenia gravis, which is a muscle disorder. And it's a lot like MS, but it doesn't have that kind of progression. But most people, have trouble walking, talking, and things like that. And I did. At 30 years old, newly married at the time, one day, and an actor doing this thing in the best shape of my life until now, actually, which is kind of ironic. One day I woke up and I couldn't say words with S's. And I was like, that's weird. And then within 2 weeks, I couldn't swallow food or see things. And went to the hospital and they tested me for all the terrible, terrible stuff. And wound up being this. And every now and then it'll rear its ugly head. But for the most part, a lot of people aren't so lucky and they are not mobile and they're, stuffing themselves, unfortunately, with immunosuppressants. But for me, because of my ex-wife, now ex-wife, and the help and love of a whole bunch of people that cared about me, I don't really take medicine. I last year did a 100-mile bike ride because my knees are too bad to run marathons now. I was their keynote speaker about how to be healthy, and I really just live a completely normal life when most people aren't able to. And oddly enough, to be completely honest, the delay from the last one is it popped up. And sometimes it just takes you out. But the really cool thing about PEBA, just connected into that, why I love PEBA so much, because these video games are really hard when you have double vision. But with hitting the space bar on PEBA, the individual league, and then just downloading and reading stats, it's an amazing kind of like sidebar. But I'm all good now. You just kind of hop back on some meds and it goes away. They're just terrible meds and destroy your body. But I'm lucky to, I work out 5 days a week. I work, as you guys know, like 90 hours a week. And I act still and all that stuff. So that's what I thought I'd share with everybody. So, yeah.
Way
So
deeper
what did the
than the
aliens
rest.
do to you, Mike?
What?
What did the aliens do to you, Mike?
Nothing. I just researched them. That's all.
Yeah. So if you ever want to give to an organization, myasthenia gravis, it's a hell of a bitch to spell. But yeah, so if y'all want to ask me questions or not, it's fine. So it's a happy ending, I promise. See, I'm drinking. Clearly, I'm okay. However, so here's some fun stuff. They gave me a little card and we used to play, is he drunk or flaring up? Because they give you a card saying, I have myasthenia gravis. It may affect my speech. I'm not drunk. And it got me out of a ticket. Not a DUI, because I don't believe in drinking and driving. But I was drunk in public. And I was peeing on a subway station. And the cop kind of saw it. And I turned around and I was hammered. And I was like, I have this. And I showed my card. He didn't give me a ticket.
Oh my God.
What?
Oh my God.
Are you gonna get mad at me for using my illness for once as a get out of jail free card?
I showed up on a scene. For those that don't know, I'm a paramedic firefighter. A guy and a girl were fucking. We can delete that. A guy and a girl.
Oh, delete it, but we'll bleep it.
Were having sex, and they had a card that said that. And they handed it to
that you have myasthenia gravis, so you're allowed to have sex.
Yes.
Now, see, that's not true. I mean, I'm gonna write.
He pulled it out of his wallet, and I'm like, "What is this?" And he started explaining it, and the cop is looking at me, and he's like, "Does this sound good?" And I'm like, "I don't know." I'm like, "Google it," and the cop Googled it on his phone.
Sex, like,
and I'm like, I looked at the cop. I'm like, I don't care. I mean, I don't care.
Okay, so mine.
Can I just jump in real quick? Because we had a very, I think, mildly tame or pretty tame first half. We walk away for like 2-3 minutes, man.
It was not tame. No, it was not tame.
It was mostly tame. We walk away for 2-3 minutes, come back from commercial. I'm talking about getting probed. We're talking about Lenny's dropping truth bombs that like I feel bad. I need to research.
You shouldn't feel bad. Don't feel bad.
No. Not like I'm feeling bad for. Just like I need to research this. Like we dropped mild things compared to you, and then Scott's like, "This guy's having sex." Fucking sex.
Well, that's not the first time I've walked up on people having sex, dude. I'm a paramedic, man. I've seen that stuff everywhere.
I'm trying to figure out the parallel of having sex in public and pulling out your MG card, going, "This says it's okay." No, I'm like, "Congrats, man! Your muscles are working." Yeah, buddy. But that doesn't mean you get to do it in public. I was just peeing in public because I was drunk.
They both had their junk out.
Maybe that's it.
You and them.
Yeah, but me all by myself.
That's the correlation right there.
Okay,
this is great. I love this.
Let's tie it back to PEBA here for a second.
Yeah, let's try something.
Please. So we have winter meetings coming up on Saturday. Is there anything that you're looking forward to with winter meetings, or just? I know for me personally, it's nice just everyone is there. Mm-hmm. I've never been in a league where everyone actually gets together on certain dates, whether it be, the draft being live or winter meetings. Like that is rare. Like that's something that doesn't happen in most leagues, like to get everyone in one spot, or at least, a majority of the people in one spot. So I know I'm looking forward to being with everyone all at the same time. Hopefully, in previous years we had lots of trades and just, some discussion about possible rule changes or, some new rules that come out. But is there anything you guys look forward to with winter meetings coming up?
I like everybody together. That's a good one. It's really interesting. They're usually dull, but I had like one crazy one where shit just went nuts.
Now, are you saying that it was dull for you, or you felt that the whole winter meeting was dull?
No, they're not dull. This usually nobody like I don't go in there expecting a lot to happen. And then one winter meetings, the Bale brothers mugged me, and that was awesome. It was great. And I mean that as a compliment. I got a lot of good shit out of it, so it wasn't a bad mugging. But yeah, so it was fun. I like them. I
personally like all the trading. Mm-hmm. I like that everyone's there. Obviously, that's a big thing. I like the trading because it's kind of, typically not planned, and then a lot of stuff tends to go down. I do like the announcements. That's where we get to see a lot of, and
big on the logos. We get to see a lot of the chatter on changes because it's obviously taking into account people that have planned CP changes, whether it's relocation, artwork, whatever, name changes. I do enjoy that chatter. I enjoy obviously the Hall of Fame stuff, which we covered today. I enjoy hitting touchdowns and stuff like that. So
I get that reference.
It's awesome. Best shirt ever.
I meant to bring that up earlier. I couldn't squeeze it
I
in.
almost brought it up too. I'm like, dude,
I
what's
got
with
it as
this
a
shirt?
gift because I saw it on my friend's cousin. I was like, that's the best shirt ever. Showed up in the mail 2 weeks. And because I like sports, it's even more better.
So yeah, I mean,
I was
to me,
hitting
it's
touchdowns
a good
on the
time.
subway, and I used that guy was hitting touchdowns. Go ahead.
Just move on. Next person.
Well, I do. I enjoy the fact that sometimes, with my work schedule, I work 24-hour shifts. So weekends are pretty laid back at the fire station. So after about 11 a.m., it's our time, as long as the tones aren't going off and we have to save somebody or take somebody to the hospital who doesn't need to go. We can do our own thing. So I can do winter meetings when I'm there. So this year it happens to fall on a work shift and I'm going to be at the fire station. Didn't bother me until I realized a few days ago that they're doing a local get together for the Cleveland guys, and they're going to be at a local location, and they reached out to me, and I was really bummed to find out that I can't be there, because it would be fun to have 3, 4, 5. I think there might be 4 guys who are going to be in the same location for the winter meetings here in Cleveland, and then streaming through. That would have been fun to have a group of guys in the same location. It'd be great to have all of us there. We've talked about that, but
so cool.
That, because of the way people are spread out, that seems unlikely. It would be great to have half of the league in the same location. That would be great. I did attend I told the guys at the last time we got together, I did attend an out of the park baseball conference back in 2004, 5, or 6. So you'll forgive me because it was a while ago. It was in Toledo, and we attended a Toledo Mud Hens game, and we were in a hotel, and it was a small group. It wasn't huge. Marcus was not there, but there were I think there was at least one developer there, and there was a number of people there who were connected to the forums, and it was enjoyable. It was it was very nerdy. It was very what Dungeons and Dragons meets baseball. It was
that is the best description.
It was heavy on the Dungeons and Dragons side, but I loved it. I was around nerds who were my kind of nerds, right? And I enjoyed it. We talked about the game, we talked about the mechanics, we talked about different things. Again, it was a long time ago. My kids were very little. My wife and kids were actually in the hotel room. And I remember it was during the Ronald Reagan funeral. So that can help you look up the actual time frame. My wife and my kids were, when I came back after one of the sessions in the evening, before the actual baseball game, they were watching the Ronald Reagan funeral on the cable TV. And I'm like, oh, well, this is memorable, right? So whatever date it was, they were watching it on TV live, and then we went to a Mud Hens game, which I had been to before, which is kind of fun. I love minor league baseball.
I love it.
I think it's great. I enjoy the hell of it. So we've got, I don't know if you know, the Cleveland Guardians drafted this Travis Bazzano. Can't remember how to pronounce him. No, they got the lottery. He's playing here, like 45 minutes from my house and like 15 minutes from my work. And Lake County Captains, I think is the name.
Yep.
And he's playing there, and they're like, I think they're their second round draft pick, and somebody else just got promoted. So I'm gonna go there. I mean, it's it's 45 minutes away. It's 15 minutes from my work. I'm going to go watch one of these games. It's fun. I love minor league baseball. I saw Bartolo Colon pitch a doubleheader as a double A pitcher. The Akron, they weren't the Rubber Ducks at the time. They were the Akron Arrows, I believe.
Yep.
And it was a doubleheader. Bartolo Colon pitched the first game, I think, and Danny Baez, if anybody remembers him, pitched the second game. So I've got a CC Sabathia signed baseball when he was a minor leaguer. If anybody remembers that name,
Yep.
So I've been a minor league baseball fan. As a throwback, I'm an old fucker. Minor league baseball has been a thing for me for a very long time, since some of these fellow GMs of ours were very young people. But anyway, it would be nice to get everybody together. But I do enjoy the winter meetings. I enjoy the fact that I can do it whether I'm here, whether I'm at work. It doesn't matter what I'm doing. I can just pop on and get in and out. So.
Well, and I don't mean to cut you off, Michael and Lenny, but here's my thing. If we can plan a Cleveland meeting, Cleveland holds a special place in my heart because Cleveland saved my sister. And she had a heart defect and was airlifted to the Cleveland Clinic. She was in Texarkana, Texas, and basically was dead and got resuscitated and got brought back to life. And they airlifted her to the Cleveland Clinic, and I drove from Iowa and was there with her. But basically, she had a heart defect that most children that are born with it die within the first year, and somehow she made it through her 20s, have a kid and no issues, and then all of a sudden had this event. And I drove to Cleveland, and they had airlifted her there, and she had surgery and is great now and is great. But Cleveland definitely holds a special place in my heart. It's one of those places where even when I was there, the Indians were in town, and I was like, I just got to get away to a baseball game. Like, it was a day baseball game on a Wednesday. I went and sat in the standing room only area on the right field side, and I went and watched the game. And I still remember it because I still had my name tag on, and people were like, "Oh, you're at the Cleveland Clinic." They talked to me about it and talked to them about baseball and just how I just wanted to get to a baseball game. So even if it's like, it would be great to go to another Indian or Guardians game. But even if it's not that, just being in the area, if I can plan it out enough, and I think, Michael, you're probably the same way, where if it's planned out for enough,
Yeah, that's exactly how
Yeah.
it's do.
you can get to that game or get to that spot, that time where we can get together. I know we've talked about doing a Chicago one, and that's closer for me, but like, and definitely do it, because it's people that care about baseball, and it's people that want to get together and talk about. And I know, Lenny, you've said it too, like,
It's
let me know when the time and date, and I'll figure out when I'm going to get there.
And that's
Like,
the thing. I'm so glad that they're doing it, because then there's precedent for it, and then it's just easier to plan it every time.
Yep.
Yeah.
The first ones are always the hardest to do. And I'm so glad it's still happening. It's just like right outside my reach right now.
You give me driving distance and enough notice, and
Yeah.
I'm there.
Yeah.
I just need I need more than a week's notice, right? I need time to try and get the time off of work in case it happens to fall either my work day or the day before, even the day after. It'd be with working 24-hour shifts, it would be difficult. But if you give me time and you give me driving distance, and I am there.
yep.
Yeah, no, I fondly remember the first one that I went to. This is a long time ago at this point, but yeah, we went to a Cubs game. We went out to, I forget if it was a restaurant or a bar afterwards. This was when when John was still running the league. It was.
I remember, Michael. I didn't go. I was in the league. You joined in 2011. I was there in September 2012 is when I joined. And it was not too long after that.
I don't think so, yeah. It was me, Greg, John, Tyler, who used to run.
I looked into going and I wanted to go. It just didn't work out for me. And Chicago's like I don't know, 5.5 hour drive from Cleveland. So I could, I almost made it, but I just couldn't quite get the time off from work.
If I could find old pictures, I'm sure I probably have something on my Facebook. I'll post them, but yeah, no, it was a good time. I'm looking forward to trying. I gotta get moved into the new house first, but then I'm looking forward to trying to figure it out and plan something out. Because yeah, the Cleveland one, I'm jealous. I just, with everything I got going on with work and in life right now, I just don't have the time. But yeah, no, I'm definitely like you, Scott. If it makes sense, far enough planned ahead, as Sean said, then I'll figure it out.
I'll be there.
I was gonna say, Michael, maybe it's one of those things we can join the Cleveland group and plan it far enough out. I just pick you up on the way.
That works.
Because I'm gonna go right through south side of Chicago on my way to Cleveland, because I'm gonna go straight over on 80. So,
And I'll just drive up and I'll move in with Scott for like 2 weeks.
there you go.
And then we'll just all hang out.
I got
Well,
a kid.
that's what's so funny is like when I was traveling for work and I got stuck in Chicago, it's just like I messaged you, Michael, and I'm like telling you about how I'm stuck or whatever, and I'm like,
you were going to a Brewers game, right?
no, not yet. Well, this one of the times, I was going to a Brewers game, but this last time I was like stuck at like 10 o'clock at night, and it's like, what am I gonna do? And then finally, I was like, I'm renting a car. I'm just gonna go home. But it's like once you get into your new place, it's like
You could crash.
yeah, whole another ball game.
Yeah, right now there's not a lot of space. Yeah, I'm in a small apartment right now, but yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it. But the other thing, and I don't want to miss this because we cut Lenny short and he needs to keep talking. We still need to visit.
Share it,
Go
Sean.
back to OTP.
Share it. We have a new segment called Lenny Pissed. Let's go.
It's not Joe Riley.
Brought to you by Joe Riley.
Yeah.
Let's go. That motherfucker and this. Let's go. Pull it up. Pull up.
Who's got screen sharing? Pull up that story. This is
the guy's name that I'm supposed to pull up?
It's right if you go to the league. Don't go to league news because that'll bog you down. But if you go to like the league homepage, it'll be the first news article on there.
Okay.
Or like league reports or something. It's got to be the top thing on there.
Come on, Lenny.
Yep. I got it.
Start building us up as we share the screen.
Yeah, tell me, start building up, Lenny, and I'll share it right when it pops up.
So, going back like 4 episodes, when Scott was trying to tell me to be positive.
Still telling you.
So because that the game wasn't truly built to screw me. And that's where the genesis of all this starts, is because I believe, Scott. I did. And I have been way more positive until I hadn't even looked yet until I got a post in our thread going, Lenny has the best luck with players. I was like, what the hell is Mike talking about? So apparently, pull it up.
There it is.
Apparently, our AI friends are getting smarter.
They're listening to you, Lenny. They're listening to you.
They're listening to me, bitch. And
they're trying to teach you a lesson.
No. What it is. God damn it.
This is brotherly love here, man.
The lesson is it can always get worse. It can always get worse.
You're right.
There is no bottom.
You know what? You're right, Scott. Thanks. Because I thought Joe Riley was the pinnacle of bullshit, right? And then a 9-game suspension for what was it? Did we decide? I can't remember.
Throwing at
It
the
was
wife, or I forget the
Then-
wife telling him to throw. I forget.
Yeah,
what it was.
so that, and then on top of everything that's happening, and look, now let me say this. Let me say,
Can we read the story? I'll read the story.
Yeah.
yes,
you blow it up
please,
enough.
please.
I can't
I
read
would
that small.
love you
I'm
to read it.
55 years old. I can't read that small.
Yeah, like
Let me see if it'll
We got to read the story. I think it's
act
important.
me out or not.
Oh God, you went to Tiba News.
Well, you might be able to read it, Sean. Since
yeah,
it's,
I can't read it.
Yeah,
So I'll read it.
I can read it since it's
all right. Just read it out. Give us it.
Bakersfield second baseman Tamamaro Kichokawa.
You can just skip the name. Look, I will never criticize
Tama
name
not going to work here
pronunciation.
anymore.
He's decided to retire from baseball in order to donate a kidney to his brother. Doctors say that Kichokawa's brother has advanced kidney disease and probably won't survive without a new organ. As much as I love the game of baseball, I love my brother more. I'm just doing what I would hope someone would do for me instead if I needed it.
I read this, guys. I read this and said, "Oh my God!"
Now, hang on.
Like, how could this be more perfect? Like, if this happened to any team other than Lenny, I'd be like, no. There's a glitch in the matrix. This has to happen to Lenny.
But he's such an incredible guy. Come on, man.
But
Okay.
we all agree, other than Lenny, that this was supposed to happen to the guy who's the most pessimistic about his team.
Yeah.
I'm amazed. I'm floored. I'm amazed.
I'm impressed.
That's
I'm
next level.
I'm
storytelling.
impressed.
I love how already you guys have not let me talk.
I am impressed that the game recognized that they were going to do this
Let me
to a
talk,
player,
please.
and they said, "Well, no, it's got to be the Bakersfield player. It has to be Lenny. Like, we can't do this to Florida. Or what are you, crazy? We're going to do this to Florida? No, we're going to do this to Bakersfield because that's who we're supposed to shit on."
He's got to save his brother.
Lenny, please. We're sorry. You can talk.
I apologize.
We don't let you talk so much. I'm so sorry.
I just hope that when I need one of the three of you, you would do the same thing for me. So now, this guy was not a cornerstone of my future.
Okay, good.
Who is?
I didn't dive that deep, so good.
The team is built around he who must not be named.
Otherwise, the game will destroy him.
Mute that man.
You got the wrong guy pulled up, Sean.
Oh, dang it. I thought it
No,
was
that's him.
Roro Kachikara.
Oh, that's him, right?
That's the guy who went
If
down.
you pull up Joe
I'm
Riley
talking
right
about
now,
that.
I will put my fist through my computer.
Yes, pull up Joe Riley.
Oh, sorry. I got the kidney guy up.
Yeah.
The kidney guy.
So
Can we make a nickname of the
hang on a
kidney
second.
guy?
let me just read it once.
All right, let me pull it back.
Since we're in the same division, I'm going to name my best player. I don't know who that is right yet, but I'm going to name him. I'm going to spend CP points to call him the kidney guy beater. And I'm just going to, or the kidney guy's team beater. Is that too long of a nickname? Every time he destroys
you out.
You could probably get away with the kidney guy.
Yeah, there might be too, it might be too long, right?
Oh my God.
Dude, kidneys happen, man. They happen.
Kidneys.
So
I don't know what I don't know what you're bitching about, Lenny. This shit happens, man.
well, you
People
know
need
what?
kidneys. There's a dearth of kidneys in this world. What is your problem with kidneys, man? You kidney hater.
I was gonna say, I my sixth grade teacher needed a
Oh
kidney.
my god.
Yeah, man,
Oh my
exactly.
god.
She was.
I'm
I'm assuming because
going
most
to
teachers are
murder
women. I'm
all
assuming
of
she
you.
was a wonderful woman
Oh.
who needed a kidney.
Just
And
needed
Lenny,
a kidney.
you're just
Yeah.
being an ass. Okay, let people have their kidneys. Okay, this guy could donate a kidney, and you're giving him shit for it. I have a problem with you, Lenny. You're just being a dick. No, for nothing more than baseball wins.
Oh my
Do you
God.
have a heart, dude? Where's your heart? Have a heart.
I'm crying. I'm sorry.
The funny thing is I haven't said shit.
The damn kidney.
And I'm here.
Here's the other thing.
And you're
But
calling
Lenny,
up the
no,
other
Lenny,
thing.
let me stop you. You can play with one kidney. The dude's an asshole. All right. Like he donated a kidney and said, I think there was a football
That's how
player
bad it is
who
in
like lost an
baseball.
Achilles tendon,
He
and he's like a
literally-
wide
he's
receiver
so-
and shit.
he's so
You can hit a
unhappy.
fucking baseball.
He's
Was
so
this guy
unhappy
offense
in
or defense?
Bakersfield.
I didn't look.
Stop. People are so unhappy in Bakersfield, they're cutting organs out of their body.
I think the dude's an asshole.
I
think
thought
he
I
could've
was the
pla-
asshole.
I think he could have played with one kidney. I think he's just being a dick. You know why? Because you guys suck. And he's like, this team freaking sucks. And I'm going to come up with an excuse.
You
and
know
his-
what it was?
And someone said,
He
I need a
couldn't handle
kidney.
Joe
He's like,
Riley anymore.
fine. Here's your kidney. I don't want to play for this shitty team anymore.
He couldn't handle working with Joe Riley anymore.
What are we at? We're at like 5 or 6 on Joe Rat. No, 7 now.
No, we're at like 5 or 6 hours on this podcast.
So we're actually running a little long.
Oh,
Yeah.
just a little?
Just a little bit.
Well, I want to make sure this podcast, as long as it is a fucking kidney transplant surgery takes, okay?
I'm not worried because you're going to take at least 2 months to edit this, and then it'll be edited down to the correct.
Oh, all right.
Jesus Christ.
It'll be edited down to the correct amount so that 20 people watch it. So we're good.
I know, I'm working way too hard for our dozens of audience members.
Are literally no.
Lenny,
You
There
use
are
the plural.
dozens of people waiting to see.
Nope, you use the plural. There are a dozen people waiting to watch this. So please get it out in a timely fashion. That's all.
Scott,
waiting.
I'll try. As
For
long as my muscles are working correctly, I will do my best.
Dude,
Hey.
come on. Where are your priorities?
You know what? You're right. I'm going to go have sex in the subway right now. You guys have a great night. And
Well,
with that, Sean, take us home.
their morning commute could be on a subway, could be in a car, it could be on a bus,
We're
it
done.
could be on a train.
Have a great night. friends.
Who knows where this
He
commute
goes
could be
back.
coming from?
I'm
But
cutting
you know
this
what?
fucker off.
Yeah, they're looking for it.